Hello and welcome to episode 82 of the Thinking LSAT podcast in Los Angeles, California. I'm Nathan Fox. With me in Washington, D.C., Ben Olson. Ben, how's it going out there?
It's going good. A lot of exciting things happening in this town, as always.
Yeah. Any major protests or anything like that in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, actually, it's funny you say that. There was some protesters on the way in that I drive in, and there were some people. I don't know what they were yelling. I just had to get going and make the light, but I'm sure they were probably protesting something about Gorsuch, right? The nominee that Trump just put forward for the Supreme Court. So
when he's doing so many crazy things all at once, there's just, you don't even know what they're protesting about. It's just
that's right.
Protesting Trump generally, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Why are you here? Well, they all have different reasons. So you can find enough reasons to get a lot of people there.
I got completely screwed the other night at LAX coming back from San Francisco. Plane landed, everything's on time, get out and call a Lyft to come pick me up. And the driver calls me and says, they're estimating that it's going to take 45 minutes for me to get to pick you up.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because they were protesting the ban, Muslim ban. So I had no way to get home from the airport. So I proceeded to walk, which everyone was doing, walking in and out of LAX. I walked about a mile probably. Luckily, I just had my backpack with me, so it was no problem. But the cars coming into LAX, like to get dropped off, or for people to get dropped off for their flights, or even to make it to short-term parking or anything, it was just a complete parking lot, like 6 lanes of traffic, just all 100% cars just stopped, and then people getting out and walking, and people coming the other way walking. So it was just like pedestrians walking right in the middle of 6 lanes of oncoming traffic, in and out of LAX.
That's pretty funny.
I felt so bad for these poor people because they're just sitting there in their car. They're like, as I walk, I walk like about a mile out, and there's still cars just sitting there, stopped, just waiting.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, some people are leaning out like, hey, can you tell us what's going on up there? And I'm just like, yeah, it's a parking lot the entire way up there, and you're going nowhere. Like I feel so bad because you should just be turning around, or you should be, if you got somebody who's got a flight, you're getting out and walking because you're not making it. There's no way that you're ever getting in there.
So was it crowded because all the protesters are coming, or was part of the protest, let's go and just block the roads?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they stopped traffic. I didn't see it anywhere, but I'm pretty sure they stopped traffic at some point somewhere. I don't know if they made like a human chain or whatever, but they made a big splash. Of course, my is it naive? Maybe it's not naive. It's something else. It's self-involved. But I'm like, all I could think was like, hey, I agree with you. This whole plan, this sucks. The ban sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm on your team, and now I'm getting screwed getting off my flight. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. I mean, they're making a statement. It's a big deal. They should be making a statement. But I already was convinced, so they didn't need to. They didn't need to convince me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think Trump listens very well to these things, so I'm doubtful that they will have much of an impact.
Well, yeah, they're not delaying Trump's flight.
Nope.
They're delaying my flight. But I don't know. I don't know how this thing works. Don't send me any hate mail, please. I'm on your team. Today on the show, we have an interview that I recorded with my former student, Ken, who took the December 2016 LSAT, and we wanted to give that to you right before the February 2017 LSAT because it has a little bit of an update on testing conditions, at least one, testing center. So that interview, we will splice that in at the very end of the show. We have emails from a variety of different listeners. We have one about whether or not to postpone the February test. We have an email that I thought was pretty naive in a couple different ways. Just wanted to kind of point out all the different levels that people are at on this test. We have an email from a pharmacist without a bachelor's degree. I thought that was kind of weird. We can talk about that. I don't know, Ben, if you know anything about that, but we can talk about it.
Okay.
You, Ben, came up with, you have a story from the Atlantic that you want to talk about,
Yes.
a for profit law school that went down.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we got a lot on our plate today. Let's start with this Atlantic story. I want to hear about it.
Sure. So one of our listeners and one of my students sent this to us. I don't know if she wants me to say her name on the air, so I won't. But this article was in The Atlantic. It's entitled "The For-Profit Law School That Crumbled." It's by Oliver Bateman. It just came out a couple days ago, maybe last week. It goes through the challenges that for-profit law schools and just law schools in general are facing. It says a lot of the things that we've already said. But one thing that I thought was interesting was there was this story in here about one of the for-profit law schools. I think it's the Florida Coastal School of Law. They were looking for a dean, and one of the applicants, who was a finalist, was called to the school and asked to present and say what he would do for the law school. And in his time that he had to present, he explained to them with lots of data that they were letting profits, basically, not surprisingly, get in the way of their admission process, and that they had severely lowered the standards for those who were coming into the school, even from just 3 or 4 years earlier. And he was telling them this not to be antagonistic, but to say, hey, look, as a dean, if I were to become your dean of this law school, I would recognize this as a serious problem and we need to turn this around and we need to change it. But I guess halfway through his presentation, whoever was in charge of this meeting told him to stop talking and to leave.
Nice.
So he left. And because of that, not surprisingly, it was sort of picked up by various bloggers, and a lot of things were said, and he ended up writing a blog post about the experience. And as someone who clearly thinks that for-profit law schools and some other low-tier law schools can provide a legitimate education, it was interesting to read his blog post and to hear his concerns. And the one thing that I wanted to share with everyone from his blog post was this one section in which he talked about different LSAT score ranges and his assessment of how likely it is that individuals in those score ranges will pass the bar. So basically, for a long time, he's talking about how the LSAT and GPA are not perfect predictors. Of course, you can always have outliers, but in general, together, they do a pretty good job. And then he starts going through these numbers. So, for example, he says that if you have a 156 or higher, he would classify that as a high aptitude applicant, and that person would have a minimal risk for not passing the bar, right? Very low risk. Now,
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it probably depends on the state too, right? It depends how
yeah,
difficult the bar is. I would in California that number makes me a little bit scared, just because the California bar passage rate is so low. But anyway, yeah, I get the point. So he's saying over 156, you're okay.
yeah, minimal
Okay.
risk. I mean,
Yeah.
everyone has risk, right? But
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
okay, so then he said 153 to 155, that would be, quote, solid aptitude, low risk. 150 to 152, reasonable aptitude, modest risk. 147 to 149, modest aptitude, high risk. 145 to 146, marginal aptitude, very high risk. 144 and below, poor aptitude, extreme risk. I mean, basically anything below a 147 is a high risk to extreme risk, and even 150 to 152 is a modest risk. And this is based on, I mean, he's been in this field for some time, and I guess he's both been a professor as well as an administrator, and he's taken a lot of time to look at the data for people who take the bar, their LSAT scores, where they're taking it, and so forth. And I would say these numbers are lower than I would advise anyone. But I
Yeah.
think what's interesting is this is a person who has some faith in these low tier law schools, and he's still saying anyone below a 147 is a high risk to extreme risk, which sounds to me like this is not a good bet at all, right? And especially if you're paying any money at all.
Yeah. And he's not even factoring in employability. He's only factoring in just bar passage.
This is just about passing the bar.
Yeah,
Yep.
because if you have your 152 and maybe he would say, okay, you're a decent bet to pass the bar.
Mm-hmm.
You pass but you go to some low ranked law school and you then pass the bar. But so what? I mean, now you have to also get a job.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's not even taking into account the other giant risk here. But yeah, okay, that's I mean that's not far off of what we've been talking about, right? I
No.
tell my students all the time, I they always ask, well, what's the number? Where's the number where you think it's okay? Where do you think you should go or not go? And I always say 160, maybe 155, but what I really want to say is 160
Mm-hmm.
is the number where if you're below that, I'm worried about potentially your bar chances, but also I'm worried about your employability because
Sure.
it's just such a competitive game. You
Yeah.
gotta compete for grades in law school, and then you gotta pass the bar, and then you gotta figure out how to get a job, and all that is tough. And if your competitors have higher LSAT scores than you do, I don't know. You're just starting off with a bit of a disadvantage. I have to again make the disclaimer here that I'm not talking about your starting score, and I'm not talking about your score right now today, because people improve a lot on the LSAT. 10 points, 15 points, 20 points. I mean, we see those kinds of improvements all the time.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at a 148 right now, that doesn't mean anything. You can turn a 148 into a 163 pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have prepped and prepped and prepped, and you've done 30 practice tests and you've worked on it for 2 months or 3 months, and now you're looking at a 140 something, yeah, at that point you might want to rethink it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's all I have to say about that. Really, just those numbers. Interesting story. I would read the whole article if any of you out there have time. Just search the Atlantic. It's a good expose on everything that's going on, everything that's going wrong with a
Yeah,
lot of lower tier law schools,
yeah,
and the pressures that higher tier law schools are facing, which is why some of their LSAT scores are dropping, which can be good news for some people trying to get into a higher tier law school. I mean, they're not dropping as much, obviously, as these lower tier schools, but they're still facing the same pressures, which is simply you have fewer applicants, so you either have to shrink your class size or drop your standards.
yeah. Really, I mean, if you're sitting here thinking you're going to go to law school, you need to read that. That's like it's like irresponsible of you if you don't read that. you know,
Yeah,
what are,
yeah,
what are you doing? You ought to read that. I mean, I should also just re-pitch that Paul Campos book, Don't Go to Law School Unless. It's not really so much about bar passage, it's a lot more about employability. But, you need to read all of the arguments against law school before you decide to go. The law
mm-hmm.
schools, by the way, are not going to give you any of those arguments, right?
No,
If you're in there talking to the admissions staff about, asking them for their opinion, their job requires them to just pump you full of all the good reasons why you should go to law school. And sure, there are good reasons for the right type of person, but you got to get the other side of the story too.
yeah. If you get the other side of the story and you still think, hey, this is what I want to do, then great, go for it. But just know what it is.
Yeah, that's what I always say to my students. If I can't talk you out of it, then I'll do everything I can to help you get in and, hopefully get a scholarship or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have to try to talk you out of it first because you need to go into this with your eyes open. And I did not when I went to law school. I had no idea what I was getting into. And just so many students. I mean, every single class I teach is half full of very naive candidates who have no idea what game they're playing.
Hmm.
Okay, so enough about that. What's the title one more time?
The for-profit law school that crumbled, and in that article there are links to a ton of things, but this one link to the applicant who got kicked out of the Florida Coastal School of Law. His name is David Fracht, I think. That whole, like, I started reading this blog post, and it's extraordinarily long, but the whole thing was very, very interesting. Just going through all the decision making process and how law schools look at these numbers, and he talks about the issue that we were talking about before, like this sense that law schools feel obligated to help applicants that are at a disadvantage to get into law school, but is that really helping them, or is that saddling them with debt and now making their future even worse, So I found it a very interesting read.
I completely agree with that. I mean, I want to help disadvantaged people. I really do. But I also don't want to give disadvantaged people the rope with which to hang themselves. And
Sure.
sometimes if you're admitting somebody to law school and then letting them sign their name and loaning them $250,000, for a JD that they might not ever be able to even use, it's hard for me to say that that's good for that 21 or 22-year-old. We were
No.
talking about this in class last week in San Francisco, and my kids, the students are very well meaning. They're all going to go change the world, which is wonderful, but they're they're pushing back on me on that, and they're saying, well, who are you to make that decision for them? That's their decision. They should be able to decide. And my retort to that is, yeah, but 21-year-olds are idiots. Because I was an idiot when I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have just happily signed my name. Yeah, oh yeah, sure, yeah. and,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying don't make this option available, but it's like there needs to be some sort of serious counseling up front to explain it to people what's going on. Because I
Yeah.
feel like the people from disadvantaged backgrounds, they know even less what this means for their entire future.
Yeah. I mean, as you're talking about right now, it seems like if law schools really want to be helpful in this regard, then they need to put their money where their mouth is and say, okay, we want to take a chance on you, and we're going to pay for your education. Because then you really would only admit people for the right reasons.
Yeah,
The problem right now, especially with for-profit schools, but even other schools, is that the federal government's saying, yeah, yeah, we'll give them a loan.
yeah,
So if you accept them, all of a sudden
yeah,
you get all this money from the federal government,
yeah.
and you don't have to deal with the consequences. But if you really believe in that, then pay for it.
Yeah, there's perverse incentives there. I mean, and I don't know about making the distinction between for-profit and not-for-profit law schools in the first place, because some of these giant public institutions, like Hastings, my alma mater, they're I guess technically not a for-profit school, but it's hard to tell from looking at them. I mean,
Yeah, I don't really get the distinction there
they're
either.
not they're not giving diversity oriented scholarships. I mean, they're giving merit based scholarships just like everywhere else. So the scholarship money is going to the people with the highest grades and the highest LSAT scores, and the rich get richer. And then yeah, they're admitting a lot of diverse students, of course, from all kinds of different backgrounds. But those kids are all there on these gigantic federal loans.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, are you really doing them a favor? Because it looks to me like you just took $200,000 from them.
Yeah, well, from the government. And if
You're
they
from
can't
the
pay it back, then it's going to be from the taxpayers.
Yeah, we're gonna have an interview on an upcoming show with a bankruptcy attorney in Los Angeles, and she specifically has experience working with students to reorganize because you can't get rid of it, but you can sometimes reorganize your student debt.
Mm.
And it's a sobering kind of a thing to hear her talking about students that have $200,000 worth of loans they can't pay back.
Do you know what the
Um,
average amount is for people who graduate
the
from law school?
average, no.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Oh,
200 sounds high to
no,
me.
no, no. Well, so many people have other ways. People get
Mm.
merit scholarships. They pay
Mm-hmm.
zero. People have families that pay for it. They,
Mm-hmm.
they don't have debt. People come into it with money. They don't have debt. They've got a spouse who works. Maybe they can minimize their debt somehow.
Yeah.
So it is a lot lower. And this is one of those things again, though, where the average number is maybe not that instructive. That what you need to be looking at is kind of the whole shape of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
I was out having beers last weekend with my buddy who is at the University of San Francisco. He's a 2L and he already has $180,000 of debt.
Oh. Oh my
And
goodness.
I know. I had the same reaction. It hurt me.
Oh.
It was like punching the gut. I'm like, holy shit, dude, what are you? Oh my god! And he's like, yeah, and he's like a success story because this guy he has a job. I mean, he has a job in like workers' comp litigation kind of stuff. He did that kind of work before he went to law school. He has a very clear idea what he's going to do. He's
Yeah.
going to do just fine, but even he acknowledges, yeah, I'm probably just going to be paying that debt off for the rest of my life.
Wow. You have
I
to really
know.
love the law. For the love of law has a new meaning.
Yeah. Yeah, you better be a true believer and really know what you're going to do with it. All right. Maybe we better move on.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
on to the motivational stuff.
Yeah. We have a question here from Kelly. Says, "Hey guys, want to start by thanking you for helping me think through the LSAT and law school process via your podcast." Oh, well, you're very welcome. Thank you for listening. I have a bachelor's in community development, 3.2 GPA, but I've been out of school for a while and have never been a good test taker. I've spent the last month and a half studying using Magoosh and official LSAT materials. Ben, do you have any experience with anybody using Magoosh? I've heard the name before, but I don't know anything about it.
I thought Magoosh was originally created for the GMAT.
Yeah, and now maybe it's expanded into platform for other tests. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We have no idea whether this is quality or total shit. We have no idea. Currently, I score around a 157. I have had a few scores around 160, but also a few around 155. Earlier today, I scored a 155 and am now in the anxious pre LSAT week mindset, which is not comforting. I'm probably burned out. I'm confident that under more structured and supervising studying conditions, I could perform better consistently. With all that in consideration, what do you think about me taking the February 4th exam and sending off applications? Is it an obvious choice to postpone?
Yes.
Yeah, no, Ben and I both responded simultaneously. Without seeing each other's emails, we both responded and we said exactly the same thing to Kelly.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That was funny. In like 1.1 and point two.
Yeah, we made 2 points, and those 2 points were exactly identical, which was one, you're not ready. You did not do enough prep. A month and a half is not enough. You're not ready. Your scores are not what you know they could be, so you're not ready. You shouldn't take the test.
Mm-hmm.
And go ahead, Ben. What was point two?
Point two was applying next year will put your application early ahead of others, and that alone will help your
Yeah,
chances.
it's just a horrible idea to apply after the February LSAT is not the time to apply. And this is one. It's a clear sign of like the kind of naive applicant, right? Is the hey, yeah, the deadline is March 30th, so yeah, I'm gonna take the February LSAT and put my application in. I mean, that to me is just a fat fastball down the middle for these schools to like rip you off, because
Yeah.
they know you're naive when you're doing that. They know you're ill prepared, and they're thinking they got a sucker on the line. I think when you do that.
Yeah.
So we both gave Kelly the exact same advice. he goes on to say, money's a significant factor for me as my degree will be funded by loans and whatever scholarships I can get. Hence my worry of doing poorly this Saturday and compromising future financial options. Yeah, I mean, dude, no brainer.
Yeah.
If you had a trust fund or, grandpa was just going to write a check, that's maybe makes it a little bit different. But if you're paying for it yourself, you definitely gotta well, what he's got to withdraw, right?
Yep. Withdraw by Friday night, midnight, Eastern time. Hopefully earlier than that, but if you need to know the exact
Yeah,
time.
the website says 11:59 p.m. I think on the day before the test. That's Eastern time,
Mm-hmm.
and I would not wait until the last minutes. I would withdraw, maybe Thursday
Sure.
or Friday morning.
As soon as you know.
As
Yeah.
soon as you know you're not going to be ready. Yeah, if you know for sure you're not going to be ready, which by the time this comes out, this podcast is going to come out like a day before the test. So it's not too late if you're registered. And one thing I consistently keep hearing too is, oh, I'll just sit for it and cancel my score,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is just bad. It's so bad. You waste one of your three attempts. You don't get your money back anyway. People, sometimes people are like, well, but then I'll know what the experience is like.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, what do you think about that?
I don't think that's a reason to do it.
Right.
I don't think it's not a consideration, but it
Yeah.
ultimately comes down to how close are you. If there's a chance that you could, a decent chance or a reasonable chance that you could score somewhere that you'd be happy with, or then take it,
But
and
don't cancel in that case.
don't cancel and get your score.
Yeah.
Your point here is to get something on record so that I think there's a psychological benefit to that too. Taking
Sure.
it, getting a score on record, even if you know that you're probably or almost certainly going to take it again. Sometimes I think people have worked for a while and they
Yeah.
kind of need to see that, hey, all this has gotten me here. And for
Yeah.
some reason, it being official makes it more real or something. And then they can kind of do their next round of prep starting from that point, so to speak.
Yeah.
And if you've never taken the test, then the fact that you have three shots left makes it not such a big deal.
Yeah.
Someone, though, who only has two shots left or
Yeah.
one, of course, then that totally changes. But yeah, taking it and then canceling it, that is not. There's no benefit there.
No, that's not your plan. You should never have that be your plan. Yeah. Actually, in the interview, I come around to telling Ken. Ken already has a really good score on record, but he's registered for February.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But he thinks he maybe can score better. And with him, I actually did end up coming around to the idea of, dude, I hope you take it, and if you don't kill the games, maybe then you could just cancel.
Yeah.
But that's not the situation that almost anybody's in. I mean, Ken already has a 170 on record, so
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
he's thinking about going in and shooting for 175. In which case, if you don't get perfect games, then you didn't get a 175, so you can just go ahead and cancel.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But no, for any normal student, you don't have any scores on record, especially with the February test. There's no point because you can take June as your first attempt, the fall test as your second attempt, and then you still have December as a third emergency backup if necessary.
Yeah.
So there's no point in rushing to the February test.
Nope.
Okay. You know what I also told a student the other day? She I thought this was kind of clever. She signed up and she was thinking about taking it even though she's like nowhere near ready.
Mm-hmm.
She's 10 or 15 points away from her goal. It's not going to happen on this Saturday's test. And I told her, but her plan was, oh yeah, I'm just going to go sit and then cancel my score. And I'm like, no, for all the reasons that we always talk about. But if you do want to, see what it's like,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I told her to go to her testing center,
Okay. Sure.
like withdraw.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's unofficial.
Yeah, so you're not there. You're not. Yeah, but then go to the testing center on the day of the test, just so that you can see all of the nervous people with their Ziploc bags and their pencils and all that shit. that I think could be actually pretty helpful for calming nerves, right? Like you've been to the testing center before on test day. You've seen what it looks like. You've seen how the whole thing is going to go down.
Yeah,
And then when you come back in June for your actual test at that same testing center, well, now it's like, yeah, okay, I've done this before, basically.
sure. And you get out in time for lunch.
Yeah, yeah. Well, she gets to just not even do it. She gets to
Yeah.
just be like walk. But I told her, yeah, you can walk right up to the registration table. You know, there's
Yeah.
nothing stopping you, and just you could go say hi to him. I mean, then you're gonna have to leave, but you could totally get there right to the front door and then just see how it feels. But
Mm-hmm.
no, if you're not ready, do not register or do not sit into the test if you're not ready for it. Okay, so that's Kelly. Thanks, Kelly.
Yeah.
Here's an email where I changed the name here. I can't even really remember what I thought about this. Okay, so hi guys, I'll keep it short. Basically, I'm wondering if I should apply to, I think this is University of Houston. Is that right? It says Houston down. Yes, so this must be Houston. UHLC. I've never heard of it
Okay.
before.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Must be University of Houston Law College or something like that.
University of Houston Law Center.
Law Center. Got it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It says, I'm wondering if I should apply to University of Houston Law Center. Part-time is a must. Therefore, May is the deadline for my school.
Hmm.
If I did and got rejected, would it look bad if I tried the same school again next year? Here's the facts. I took the December 2016 LSAT and scored a 150. I did self-study, but it obviously could have been better. I have an engineering bachelor's degree. GPA just barely missed 3.0. I've been working as an engineer in oil and gas for about 4 years. UHLC told me that the longer you've been out of school, the less your GPA matters. Thoughts? I'm planning to take the next LSAT regardless, anticipating my low LSAT to not be enough.
Hmm.
Uh, Staying in Houston is a must, so of course I'll be applying to the other schools here, but UHLC is my first choice. Let me know if I can clarify anything. Awesome show. Best. I put Joe.
I guess I don't understand the rush. Why not just if he's planning to take the test for sure, why not just take it and apply early next year?
Yeah, he's in a hurry like everybody else, in a hurry to go to law school, start law school right now. Everybody thinks they have to do the next step,
Yeah.
which is just a very expensive decision to be making.
I think that if he applied now and got in, because I think that's what he's hoping will happen, right? Oh, as long as I get in, then I'm done with the whole application thing.
Yeah,
I don't have to worry about this anymore, and I get to start now. I think that's what Joe's thinking. But the problem is that if Joe applies now and gets in, and then forgoes applying next year, he'll never know what kind of money he would have gotten. And even if it was, I don't know, a small scholarship, I mean, maybe he doesn't have a chance at a scholarship where he's going, so it's not going to make a difference. But even a small one could be what, $30,000 over 3 years or something. I don't know.
yeah, that's a lot of money. I mean, that's a big payoff for another, 5 months, 4 months worth of LSAT prep, and
Yeah,
for delaying your start by a year. A lot of these part-time programs also have start dates that are, they'll let you start in the spring.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if this is true for this school, but it's possible that it's not even waiting another year. It's possible that it's only waiting 6 months.
Yeah. You can also like think about things to do to help boost your application because now you have another 6 months or maybe another year. What do you want to do in your job or outside of your job that could give you something to talk about in your personal statement and make you stand out in more ways than you currently stand out, and thus increase your chances of the school liking you even more and increasing your chances of getting a scholarship. I mean, I just feel like there are things you can do when you have a little more time that in the long run can save you money and just make things a little more sane, right? Not so
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah. I am concerned about Joe's chances on the bar exam.
Yeah. Hopefully he does. I mean, that's the other thing is take it again and see if he can really get it up to something much better,
Yeah,
at least over 156, hopefully.
yeah. I mean, we've talked about it before, but the the bar association requires that law schools use a test, right? A
Mm-hmm.
test for admission.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that the reason why they're doing that is to try to raise this, basically to protect students, right?
Yeah.
Or to protect applicants from getting ripped off by these law schools.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're at a 150 and that's the best you can do, you are a pretty significant risk to not pass the bar.
Yep.
And so if Joe waits another year and works on his LSAT and tries to get it up to 160, then I would feel much better about his chance. If he can get it to 160, I feel much better about his chances of passing the bar eventually. If he can't get it up to 160, then I feel worse about his chances of passing the bar, which would be a data point in favor of just not paying all this money to go to law school.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think the school is doing him any favor here. The schools are just like, oh yeah, oh sure, we'll accept your application in May. Oh yeah, no problem. Oh yeah, it's been a long time, so we're not going to really care about your grades that much. It just seems like they just want his money.
Applications are down, and an empty seat doesn't bring them anything. And so a low scoring applicant who can fill a seat and bring them more cash is just pure profit. I
Yeah,
mean, what's the cost per student when you're adding one student
well,
to a class of 30?
yeah, no, I mean it costs nothing because it's like some more. At least for you, Ben, or for me, we would have to pay more like LSAT licensing fees and
Yeah.
print out more books and stuff, right? It
Yeah.
actually costs us money. The law schools don't even pay for the books.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you actually get from the school? You get like nothing. The professor's already there.
Yep.
You pay for absolutely everything. You pay thousands of dollars for your books.
Yeah.
The room is already there. There's an empty seat in the room. So yeah, they have all the incentive in the world to just accept everybody and not really be too concerned about your employability or your ability to pass the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, Joe. I think we're on the same page here, which would be wait. Let the LSAT protect you from making a really bad decision.
Yeah, it's funny. For some reason, your discussion reminded me that the LSAC is looking for a president. Did you know this?
Yeah. Uh huh. Go on.
Oh, okay. And I read over the application just really quickly, and they said that they're looking for someone who has a vision for legal education in general and the legal world. And I was like, these guys, they don't know what to do. They don't know where they're going. I
Yeah.
mean, they don't even know how to run their organization and turn a paper-based test into an electronic one. If you
Yeah.
want to modernize, that's what you got to do. You got to become more competitive.
I don't know, man. I have a feeling they're doing that just because they're raking in so much money. I mean, I was thinking about that. Like, why haven't
Oh,
they
sure.
modernized the
Yeah.
test? Well, because they charge unbelievable, ridiculous amounts of money for their for the access to these tests, and why would they? They've got the golden goose. Like, why would they do anything different if they don't until they're forced to? I don't know why they would ever do anything different.
No, it's true. That's a very good point. I mean, if they went to an electronic-based test, they wouldn't be able to release those questions. In other words, they wouldn't be able to sell them because you kind of have to keep a bigger database than the actual test so that it doesn't become predictable.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's got to be related to that. They've got to just be looking at like, hey guys, do you realize that we right now can sell these like we sell these tests for $8 a piece.
Yeah.
We get $8 for every single one of these 30-page booklets we print out. Why would we change anything? We're selling thousands of these things.
Yeah.
Why would we? So I mean, I don't really blame them, but
LSAC though is not for profit, so I'm sure it's fine.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. Is that enough, you think, for Joe?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Next email, it says, "Hey guys, maybe just my first name for whatever reason." And then at the bottom it says Josh or Doug or Bob or whatever you want to call me. So we'll go Josh, Doug, Bob.
I was gonna say the same thing. Josh Doug Bob.
So Josh, Doug, Bob, JDB, is a 32-year-old pharmacist considering law school. I'm taking the February LSAT and have been studying for a few months. I feel confident about my results on practice tests. My goal with this endeavor is ultimately to end up practicing some sort of healthcare law, as I've always been more interested in the legal aspects of the pharmacy field more than being a practicing pharmacist, however bad that sounds. Uh, I don't know that that sounds bad. You're into
No.
what you're into.
Yep.
Something like malpractice or third party contracting for pharmacy chains. My other thought is to remove my family's heavy reliance on the pharmacy field since my wife is also a pharmacist. Oh, he's trying to diversify their income streams. I see. My question, other than do you think this sounds reasonable, has to do with admissions. Can I just give my 2 cents about whether this plan sounds reasonable?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think it sounds reasonable. I mean, he's worried about it. Just I would just push back on whether you need to diversify away from, why are you so scared? Are you scared that the whole pharmacy industry is going to go under? I mean,
Seems
I
like a
guess it's
pretty big industry. I mean, if they're both working for
yeah,
the same company, that would make
right,
sense, maybe. But
right. I don't see less prescription drugs being sold ever. And I don't know why he's worried. Maybe, I mean, he would know, right? So he has obviously better information about the pharmacy business, and maybe it's not that good of a business. But it seems to me that I always thought that that was a really good job, like very well paid and very solid.
sure. I mean, maybe he's just really doing this because he's more interested in the legal aspects of it.
Yeah, in that case, yeah, you got to do, you only live once, and you got to do what you think you want to do with your life. So
Yeah.
that's fine. But if we're talking about this in strictly in terms of financial, economic incentive here,
Mm-hmm.
return on investment, it's a clear just don't even go to law school. You've already got a successful career. What are you doing? The
Yeah.
risk is just enormous, and because the amount of money you're going to pay is going to be insane, and whether or not you'll ever end up practicing law is totally crapshoot. So why would you leave a successful career from economic standpoint?
Yeah.
But from all the other standpoints, I mean, sure, if you want to change malpractice or whatever, okay, that's great. Go do it. Okay, the other question has to do with admissions. I had 2 semesters left of undergrad when I was accepted into pharmacy school. Now I have a doctorate in pharmacy, but not a bachelor's. I didn't even know that was possible.
By doctorate, what does that mean? PhD? Is that the only? Is that?
No, I think there's a special doctorate. Like it's like an MD, but it's like a
Yeah.
something else. It's like a pharmacy D.
Yeah.
Like a JD and an MD. I think there's a pharmacy one.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you got? I got a pharmacy D.
I got a PD. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. How's that possible? How did they accept him? I guess that's the issue, right? Like they were like, man, yeah, you don't need to finish. We'll take you.
Yeah, I didn't know this was a thing, but anyway, it's a thing. The only response I've received from the admissions committee regarding this question is to apply and see what happens.
Sorry, I read that before you finished.
Dude,
Hey,
I had
just
the
see what
same.
happens.
I had that same reaction. What? Why is that so funny?
I don't know. It just seems like you're asking the person who's supposed to know, and they're like, "Well, let's punt and let someone else decide." Oh my gosh! Send us your money too.
Well, yeah, that's how I felt about it. It's just like, how sleazy can these people possibly be?
Mm-hmm.
This is a yes or no question, and it seems like, either this is possible or it's not possible. But instead, they're like, "Oh yeah, just pay the $100 application fee. Well, then we'll answer your simple yes or no question." I also JDB has it looks like he only asked one admissions committee.
Okay, yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's like this seems like I'm a little worried when someone's talking about the admissions committee,
Yeah.
you know, because you should be applying to 5, 10, 15 different schools, and you should be talking to multiple admissions committees.
Yep.
And if one admissions committee is not going to answer this very simple question, maybe that's a sign that you don't want to go to that school.
Mhm.
You know, what are the odds, in your opinion, of being accepted? Should I take night school classes and finish my bachelor's and then apply?
We have no idea.
Yeah, sorry, Josh, JDB. We don't know. I didn't even know this was a possibility. But I would say if you call around and ask 5 different law schools, they're going to have pretty good advice for you.
Mhm. Yeah. Get a consensus. See what everybody tends to
Yeah,
say.
it's totally possible, and it stands to reason that a doctorate is going to just go ahead and trump your lack of a bachelor's degree.
Sure.
That would be dumb. It would be very dumb of them to require you to have a bachelor's when you already have a whatever pharmacy doctorate and you've been practicing pharmacy for years. Why would you possibly need a bachelor's degree at that point?
Yeah, is it that the ABA requires law schools to only admit people who have an undergrad? Is that what it is?
Yeah, but that might not be the actual requirement. You know, the
Yeah, exactly.
requirement might be you have to have, you know, a degree of some sort, like a post-secondary degree might
Yeah.
be the actual requirement. So it's totally possible that this doctorate is going to outweigh it. It made me wonder if he would be able to raise his GPA though, because he hasn't finished his bachelor's. I was wondering if that then opens the door for him to go take a couple super easy classes, get A's, finish his bachelor's, and then have a higher undergraduate GPA as a result of that.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you can't do that if you already got your bachelor's, but if you don't, maybe there's a loophole there. I don't know.
You need 2 classes to finish. Well, that's great. I'm going to take these 10.
Yeah,
They're all
so that aren't gonna give me my degree. Yeah, that's an interesting one. But that would be a huge waste of time, and he shouldn't do it. I mean, if he, what he should really do is get the best LSAT score he possibly can, and you know, call around, ask a bunch of schools. You know what? I know what he's gonna say. He's gonna say, well, but my wife is a pharmacist, and we can't move because of reasons, and so then I'm stuck with this one law school. I would say you could still apply to a bunch of other schools just to see what happens.
sure. Mm. I'd hate to be tied to one law school.
Oh man, yeah, that's just it's just such a bad bargaining position. You know, they know they've got you. They have very little incentive to give you scholarship when you've already declared your true love, right? You're just like, oh yeah, I'm only going here. I'm going nowhere else. And they're like, oh good, pay us full price.
I heard there's this book called The Art of the Deal. Have you heard of this?
Oh man, whoever wrote that must be like some sort of master negotiator.
I'm going to look into it. So,
I think I need to read that just for fun. That sounds kind of awesome.
ooh, it's on Audible. I think I'm going to get it.
Well, so anything else for Josh, Doug, Bob?
No, I just hope that he's going to law school for the right reason.
Yeah, which is what?
That he really wants to do something in the legal aspect, and he needs a JD. I mean, sometimes you can get involved in the legal aspects of
Yeah.
something and not have a JD. So
Yeah, he could, I mean, just, you know, brainstorming, but possibly be like an expert witness in these kind of malpractice and pharmacy sorts of cases.
yeah,
Or I don't know, do any kind of other policy advocacy stuff without without paying for the JD. The JD is, you know, that's to certify you to take the bar so that you can be a practicing lawyer. That's what that's for.
yep,
And if that's not why you're doing it, then it's yeah, what maybe you don't need it. Hey, here's our little reminder to promote our subscribe page.
yeah. If you go to thinkinglsat.com/blog/subscribe and enter your email address, we will send you harassing emails once every week or 2 weeks telling you that the latest episode has been released and you can listen to it before all your friends do.
Does that actually do Andy's notes go in that email? Does the email contain the notes?
Yeah, so the notes on our website, which summarize basically the show and where things are discussed, will be sent to you via email. And so you can just actually jump to the things that you're most interested in if you want.
Yeah, and we've said it a million times because it's true. The notes are better than the show itself anyway, so you can just go ahead and read Andy's delightful notes if you sign up for that newsletter.
Yes, and those notes are responsible for most of the downloads that do occur on this podcast.
Yeah, it's basically Andy's show.
Yeah. It's kind of like law school, right? I mean, it seems exciting going in, and then you come out the other end and you say, why did I do that?
Okay, one more email here. This is from one of my tutoring students, Scott, and it says, I am taking the February 4th LSAT and I'm continuing to study intensely every day, but I've heard you and Ben talk about tapering off studying in the final week or so before the test, and I want to figure out what practically that looks like. I understand that I should not be taking full tests on the week of the real LSAT and scoring them so that I don't hit a particularly hard one and get a discouraging score right before the test. So should I simply be doing isolated questions or groups of questions and carefully reviewing answers? I have found that as I have recently been getting some better scores, being in the constant rhythm of taking time sections seems to be leading to improvement. I do not want to lose any of my edge in the final days leading up to the test. What do you think the best course of action would be? Normally, I'm studying a couple of hours a day and then a few more hours every day on the weekends.
I don't think there's any problem with doing one 35-minute section every day or so. Just doing the section, going over it, figuring out what you got wrong, and then calling it quits. I mean, for some people, and it sounds like for Scott, that's going to be less studying than what he's been doing. It'll probably take him an hour tops. And I think it does two things. One, it helps you with timing and executing under the timed condition. And at the same time, you encounter problems that you find challenging and you can learn from them. So I think it does both things that you need to be doing right before the official test and throughout your studying, but right before the test as well.
Yeah, it's like more and more, I just love this idea of the daily habit of doing a 35-minute section, a 35-minute section every day.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's your whole prep plan, if you started 3 months ago or 4 months ago, 6 months ago, and you've just been in this rhythm of doing one section every day, it's like your daily walk, or whatever it is that you do to get fresh air and exercise. And, you just, oh yeah, go for your little stroll around the neighborhood, and it's no big deal. You do it every day, and that's enough to stay reasonably fit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's what you've been doing, and if you feel comfortable doing that one section a day, yeah, why not just keep it rolling, And then when you go into the test on Saturday, you're going to be doing 5 of them, but you're so used to doing them that it's just like, oh, okay, well, here's one 35-minute section, and then here's another 35-minute section, and that's just no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I definitely would not be doing full tests. I definitely would not be like ramping it up. That's the world's worst thing is people who start doing, a full test every day in the week leading up to the test. That's the worst. People that do that don't actually review their mistakes. They're not learning anything. All they're doing is just like rolling the dice and seeing, hoping to come up with a better number. Mm-hmm. And what happens a lot is that you then, you get a bad number and then you stress yourself out and you start swirling down the toilet bowl. So whatever you do, don't do that.
I think the best analogy for that is imagine trying to get stronger and you go to the gym and you do this intense workout and then you're anxious and feel like you've got to get strong by Saturday. So then you go back the next day and do the same thing over again. Ugh. You're just killing yourself. You're not allowing yourself to actually get stronger because you're not allowing yourself to recover. And I don't think people realize that this is a mental game and a mental drain, and how focused you are and how much alertness you have is going to have so much more of an impact on your score that last week than any sort of prepping. Even sometimes people, I talk about doing a 35-minute section and they're like, well, I don't know if I can do one on Tuesday or something. It's like, look, one section is not going to make a difference at this point in your preparation. It's just to keep you in, like Scott is saying, kind of keep you in the rhythm of things and just kind of a light jog every morning.
Yeah, and if this is the day before the test, right? If this is coming out on Thursday or Friday and you're listening to this right now and you're taking the test in a day or two on Saturday, you definitely don't need to be doing any studying at all. If
Sure.
you if you haven't already done the work, it's too late.
Yep.
And so you need to sort of send yourself the message that you're ready for Saturday. I think the way you do that is you go get some fresh air, get some exercise, go to a movie, get some sleep, see some friends and family, remind yourself how lucky you are to be here now.
Mm-hmm.
And the last minute frantic studying is not going to do anything.
No.
Here's another question. It says, my other question is about taking practice tests that I've already taken. This is my final LSAT attempt. Took it last year in June and September. So I have already done all of the most recent LSAT tests. I started studying about 3 months in advance of February, and I was going through the tests from my online class in their original order until about 2 or 3 weeks ago when I decided that I had better skip to the most recent ones so that I'm doing the most recent tests closest to the real LSAT. That's to me a little over engineering. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you've done a broad prep, you've got a lot of experience, you've already seen these tests one time before. I don't think it super matters that you're like, oh boy, I better be looking at the most recent one, and I have to look at the most recent one today. I think you're holding on a little too tightly there, and you got to just sort of count all of the stuff you've done and just remember, hey, I've put in a lot of prep here. I'm
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for this.
Sure.
Okay, and then he's talking about numbers, 163, 162, 167, 163, but he doesn't think those are good indicators of his actual level because he has seen those tests before.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear what you thought about the value of these results.
Well, I do think that they are likely to be skewed. It just depends on how long ago he took them. Was it 3 months ago that he took them? Or
That seems like maybe that's what it was. I don't. It's not really quite clear.
I mean, it also depends on Scott. I mean, sometimes people remember these things more than others. Sometimes they remember a particular game and how they did a lot better on that game when they created worlds, and they come to it now again and they go ahead and right away do worlds. And it's hard to say how much of that is because you remember that that was useful or you've really internalized that idea. It kind of depends on how thoroughly he reviewed them. I would say that they probably are not reflecting totally where he is. It just depends.
Yeah, that's what I told. I mean, I sent him an email back, and I was like, it's just going to be very different for everyone. I mean, so for some people, it might be only a point or two boost. For other people, it might be a more significant boost. It depends on how your memory works and how long ago it was you took them and all that kind of stuff. So, I I think more than anything, I just want to say it's not. It doesn't matter. You know, you have a range of possible outcomes on the day of the test. That range has improved significantly through all of the hard work you've put in. So you just need to go in there and have a good, solid day. I
Yeah,
mean, these numbers don't mean anything at this point.
yeah,
What matters is you going in there and just calmly, carefully answering them correctly. Just use the 35 minutes wisely and just get them all right, essentially.
yeah. And to add to that point, sometimes people take tests again and they ask me if it's worthwhile or if there's any benefit to it since they've seen the questions before. And my response is always the same unless you're getting a 178 on a retake or higher,
Yeah.
then you're missing questions that you've seen before and hopefully reviewed at some point in your life, and yet you're still getting them wrong. Why? You need to figure that out. Like, there's still something to glean from this test, so it's not a wasted effort. Sure, the score may not reflect where you're really at, but that doesn't matter. If you're getting below
Right.
178, you're missing questions that you, in theory, should be getting right now if you had
Yeah.
reviewed and really internalized the mistakes from before.
Yeah, the point of doing these tests is not to see what number comes out of the random number generator at the end. The point of doing these tests is to expose yourself to the questions, sometimes multiple times, and see what kinds of ones you are getting wrong so that you can then try to fix those mistakes in the future. So, yeah, retaking a test, and if he's getting in the 160s on these tests on a retake, which is fine, solid, but
Mm-hmm.
he's missing questions, and so yeah, I would just say, well, let's look at those mistakes. Of course, if this is Thursday or Friday, it's too late for him to be doing that. You usually advise nothing on the day before the test, no studying on the day before the test.
I don't think there's any need. Sometimes people feel anxious, and I say, hey, look, if sitting there doing nothing is making you anxious, then do a 35-minute section. But I don't think it's going to matter one way or another, right?
Yeah, it's there is no such thing as because you didn't study on the day before the test, that's why you got a bad LSAT score.
Mm-hmm.
That is not a thing. But yeah, if it makes you feel better, or if it's fun, if you just want to do it because you want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
then by all means, that's great. But don't. We would usually say, hey, just take the entire day off on the day before the test and recharge yourself. Go see a movie. Go see La La Land. It's awesome, and it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's the second person to tell me to go see that with my wife. So
Go
I
see
guess I
it.
better do
I've
it.
seen it twice. It's a beautiful movie. I just love it. Go see it.
Okay.
And okay, I think that's about it. You added another item here, Ben, at the very bottom of our agenda. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So last time you told me about Mensa, I'd never heard of it, or if I had, I'd completely forgotten about it. But this organization that it's like for people who want to consider themselves smart or something
It's
like
for
that.
people who want to be certified smart. It's for people who want a stamp of genius on their, I don't know, maybe they get a certificate or something, put it on the wall. Or they can just tell people that they're in Mensa.
I think they kind of have to drop it, right? Like be like, oh yeah, I have a Mensa meeting on Friday. uh,
Okay.
so, you mentioned this in the podcast, and I was like, or I don't know how it came up, but oh, someone had asked you, right?
Yeah,
Like
she
they
wanted to
want,
use her LSAT score for her Mensa membership.
yeah. So I just remembered it at some point during the week, and I was telling my wife and the kids about this funny organization. I went to the website, and first of all, the tagline is Mensa, where brilliance belongs. So if you're
Wow.
brilliant, that's where you belong. But I was really searching for the LSAT score that was required. I was curious. I was like, well, what do you have to get to become a Mensa member?
Mm-hmm.
You only have to get in the 95th percentile. I mean, it's still a good score, but that's a 168 right now. So anyone who has a 168 out there and has a deep desire to be accredited as brilliant, you're good to go. You can apply to Mensa.
Please don't do that if you're thinking about doing that. For what? For what possible purpose? Oh my
I have
god.
no idea why someone would want to do that, but I was really curious what the score would be. I was like, as part of my own insecurity, and now I can walk around and know that I could be a member of Mensa, and I think occasionally I will mention that to people. So,
It's even
so
cooler to say I could be a Mensa member if I wanted to.
I'm not gonna do that.
168, huh?
Yeah.
95th percentile. I
Hmm.
mean, okay. Well, this lowers my estimation of the Mensa organization, by the way. I had heard of it. It was a thing in the world since I was, I don't know, I guess I started hearing about it in high school or college or something. You read something every once in a while, somehow it'll
Sure,
mention.
Nathan, you've been following this organization for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah, right. I was applying. I've been rejected so
You
many
are a
times.
member.
I didn't know I could use my LSAT score to get me in. But yeah, I always thought it was like, I thought that was, because they talk about it as being like for geniuses or whatever. And I'm like, oh, wow, Mensa member, must be really super geniuses. But I don't think 168 makes you a genius.
No, I mean it's a great score, but
That's a broad definition of genius. 5 out of 100 people who take the LSAT are geniuses.
yeah, yeah, that's concerning. Although, if your one student could have taken the California test of mental maturity, that would
Ooh.
have qualified her as
That's
well.
another one you can take?
Yeah, there's a whole basically any test here you can take SAT, whatever. They have all sorts of numbers.
Is it roughly like 95th percentile on
That's
most
what
of
it
the
looks
tests?
like.
Or?
Yeah, yeah. You could take the PSAT.
Oh, Jesus. Wow. What's it cost to join?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Dude, that is something we need to do. We need to create an LSAT society and charge people to join it.
That is one of your better ideas, Ben. I like that. That is genius.
And I don't
Yeah.
know, that we have to rename it. It couldn't be like LSAT society. It'd have to be something else. But this is such a good scam. I mean, I don't know what it costs, but I'm sure they just reaping in the dough, right? It's just a
Yeah.
recurring fee every year.
So here, oh yeah. So here's what it's going to be. It's going to be like we're going to charge a recurring fee. We're going to make it sound super exclusive,
Mm-hmm.
but
We have to cut this out of the podcast, by the way.
you have to get a 150 to be able to join.
you have to be in the moderate risk category for passing the bar.
Because we want to have as many target people in the market as we can. So we want to keep it, pretty broad. 150.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it'll just be like a $399 a year recurring on your credit card.
Yeah, yeah. I like it.
Okay, perfect. All right, we'll get to work on that.
Yeah.
Anything else for today?
Did you want to talk about this tweet?
Sure, yes. I forgot about this, but this is Benjamin Harkins, and his Twitter tag is at Benjamin Harkins. And we can read that because he posted it onto the internet. It says, at Thinking LSAT, am I wasting my 3.97 GPA on a mid-tier 1 school with my 160? Or should I wait a year and retake? Opportunity cost of waiting seems high.
Opportunity cost of what?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Young people always seem to think that it's like just such a huge expense if they wait a year to go to law school. But I don't know why. It's this weird amorphous, like, I guess he feels like he's going to be wasting the next year of his life if he waits.
Yeah.
To which I would say, then do something interesting for the next year. Like, what's stopping you? Go to India.
This is the legal career is a slow moving, long term game, right? Like if you go to if he has a high GPA, so if he can bring his LSAT score up, he could go to a top school and have more opportunities than if he went to a mid school. I mean, still it's T1, but the point is that this is not like Silicon Valley where you have an idea and if you don't make it tomorrow, someone else will, and now you'll have to come up with a new idea.
Yeah, right.
This is
totally.
the same old thing that people are churned out of law schools. It's all systemized, if that's even a word, and it's there's a process, and if you want to play the game, the rules are all laid out. You increase your numbers, either GPA or LSAT or both. You go to a better school, you get higher grades, you go to a better law firm. That's how it works. It's all laid out.
Yeah, and he says mid-tier 1. We don't really know what that means. I don't pay attention to tiers, I don't know what a tier is.
I don't know what that is either, actually. Now that you're talking about it, I kind of assumed it was the top 14, but that's only because whoever said that said that.
I guess that's how some people define tier 1 as the top 14. And now he's talking about mid top 14. So he's talking about the 7th or 8th ranked school in the country. I mean, those are goddamn good law schools.
Yeah, I don't think you could get in with a 160.
3.97 and a 160, and he gets into like Michigan or something like that.
I mean, I think it's possible, but I think the probabilities are low.
Yeah, right. So maybe he's defining tier 1 as like the top 50 or something. So maybe he's talking about a school ranked 25th or something.
Yeah.
It depends on what he wants to do, right? If he wants to go into big law, I think he should instead of his 160, he should get a 165 or a 170, and he should go to a top elite law school and go to the best school you can possibly get into. Not to mention, he's not talking about money here at all.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't want to go into big law, why not just get a higher score for a little more time and money, probably, and then get a scholarship at a lower tier school or a mid T1, whatever that means.
Yeah, or get yourself your 170 and go to Stanford, right? With your 3.97.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's awesome. And you put a 170 on top of that, and now all of a sudden you're going to Harvard and Stanford and places like that, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, if he's asking whether he's wasting it, I don't know. Seems like maybe he thinks he's wasting it,
Yeah.
and if yeah, again, as far as the opportunity cost, I mean, what about the opportunity cost of wasting your next year in law school? That could be an opportunity cost. I don't know. This next year of your life, you could do amazing things while you wait for law school. So I don't see what the opportunity cost is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Benjamin Harkins at Benjamin Harkins on Twitter. Thank you very much for tweeting us. You can always tweet the show at Thinking LSAT. You can tweet me directly at nfox. You can tweet Ben at Strategy Prep. You can email to both Ben and me simultaneously if you use help at thinkinglsat.com. Check out Ben's website if you want to learn about his classes. He's got live classes in DC. He's got an online program that you can do anywhere in the world. He does one-on-one private tutoring. That's at strategyprep.com. Same thing with me if you're interested in one-on-one tutoring via Skype or live classes in San Francisco, live classes in Los Angeles. And I have an online program that you can do anywhere in the world, and that is all at foxlsat.com. Anything else we need to pitch there?
No, thanks. That's great.
Okay, cool. We will be back at you very soon. Thanks for listening. Please tell a friend. Yeah, man. So let's just jump right in. You said you're working on your applications. What's what are you doing right now? What's going on?
Yeah, so I have a deadline for most of this, not most, I guess, but like I think almost like half the schools that I'm applying to are coming up in a couple of days.
Okay. How many schools are you applying to?
I had about 15 or 16 on my list, but I think I narrowed it down to about maybe a dozen,
Okay.
and most of them have the application fee waived for this year's applicants. So, yeah, the cost is not going to be that much.
Great.
Except the LSAC charges $30 per application
All right. Yeah.
on their side. Yeah, that's kind of a bummer, but it's what it is.
Yeah, they're gonna get their beak wet again and again and again. I mean, they're sending
Yeah,
they're sending basically an email, right? It's like all it is a
right.
link to your file,
Yeah,
probably, and something like that, and they're gonna charge you $30 for every school you apply to, even if the school waived the admit. The school's the one that's gonna actually evaluate the application and spend some time on it. The
yeah.
LSAC has this system built.
I can't help but feel this is a pretty big racket, you know?
Well, I mean, you could make the pretty compelling argument that all of law school admissions, the whole entire thing, all of law school is a decent racket.
All evidence points to that.
They charge a lot of money for 3 years of pretty questionable, educational value. It's just sort of a
Yeah,
certification, right? Hoops you have to jump through.
yeah. It's just a artificial requirement for
Right.
yeah,
Right. Well, we jumped right in, and for the listeners, obviously Ken and I know each other. Ken took my class in San Francisco and sat in the front row, and we became kind of buddies. We went out drinking at least once, and it's it's nice to talk to you, Ken. The reason why I reached out to you was because we've got the February LSAT right around the corner, and we
right.
wanted to get someone on who had just taken the LSAT. So you took the LSAT December 2016, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was early December. I forgot the exact date.
Yeah, it was like December 3rd or something. So that, yeah,
Yeah, it
that,
was a couple months ago. Yeah.
yeah, that makes you, a bit of an expert in test day issues. So I want to, I want to get a bit of, your whole story because I think that's interesting. But maybe we could start by just talking about how it went for you on the day of the test. Was that your first time sitting, or had you sat for before?
Yeah, no, that was my very first time, the actual LSAT test.
Okay. And where'd you take it?
It was at, I think it's called the Alliance University or something in North San Francisco. It's by I think it's by North Beach.
Okay, that's a new one. I didn't
Yeah,
even know. I haven't even heard of it. That's a testing center that I haven't heard people mention before. So in North Beach, Alliance University. What is that? Like a some you know?
I mean the name of it sounds like it has some kind of religious undertone to it, but
Okay.
the place was like a nice, very tiny campus. I mean, I can't, I wouldn't even call it a campus because it was just one of those, buildings
A
with
building in North Beach.
classrooms in it. Yeah.
Is it like on Columbus?
I'm not very familiar with the streets or
Okay.
places in San Francisco since I just moved here like this year or last year.
Columbus is the main diagonal street that cuts through North Beach. Columbus on one end hits the Transamerica Pyramid, and on the other end, Columbus runs into Fisherman's Wharf. So the cable car
Okay.
runs down a part of
Yeah, yeah.
Columbus.
I think it was right along it, alongside the maybe not the cable. Yeah, yeah. It was very close. It was like a block or two from the actual the coastline.
Oh, okay. So it was almost Fisherman's Wharf then. It was close to.
Yeah, yeah. It was very tourist
Oh, touristy. Yeah. Okay.
place.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Cool. So how many other people were there when you were taking the test?
In Mike, so this is a, I think I explained it to you in my email, but the my classroom had just the three of us plus the proctor,
Okay.
and then I think there were about I think I don't know the exact number, but there were at least 50, 60 people in the whole building taking the test, maybe more.
That sounds sort of bizarre. 50 or 60 people at the center, but in your room you had your own proctor and there were only 3 people in the room?
Yeah, they separated us into maybe a half a dozen classrooms. Yeah, it was a special situation for us because I was assigned like a what's that, special accommodation status,
Oh, okay.
like a handicap because I'm left-handed.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you're
Yeah,
differently abled.
yeah, yeah,
All right. So
yeah.
you're in the wait, don't tell me it was all lefties in your room.
It was well, two of us were lefty, and this other guy was just regular righty, and he was just in there. I don't know why.
Okay. All right. So yeah, all right. So let's talk about this. So you applied for special left-handed status ahead of time?
No, I think they just ask you on the when you register for the test, they ask you if
Uh,
you're left-handed or right-handed.
okay. I
And
get it.
I had no intention of getting like any special accommodation or treatment for being left-handed, but
Okay, so they hooked you up though, so that because yeah, I mean there are those classrooms that have all of those little flippy, the little desk things
yeah,
that
yeah,
flip
those
up in your lap, and
old,
almost all of them are right-handed. And if you
right, right.
otherwise the lefties would like get there early, not for the LSAT, but the lefties I remember in college, like lefties really coveting that left-hand aisle seat because it was the only one that flipped up from the left.
No, I do remember feeling, I don't want to use the word discriminated against because, that's not quite what I felt. But like in high school, we had these chairs, and all of them were for right-handed people, and I do remember having trouble.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it was minor inconvenience, but
If you're in kindergarten, you can't use the scissors because the
yeah,
scissors
no,
are.
yeah, that's one of those things too. I still have trouble. Like, it just doesn't cut right, you know?
Dude, scissors are totally right-handed. They really are.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
meant to be used
yeah.
right-handed. If you try to use a
Hmm.
right-handed pair of scissors with your left hand, it's not going to really work. So,
Yeah.
what other things are like that? That's kind of funny.
I think I've heard shaving blades are sometimes designed a specific way
Whoa.
because the angle you approach is different when you're shaving uh, yeah, left hand side and the right hand side of your face.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know if that applies to the left-handedness, but because I never used the actual like the shaving blade,
Yeah, yeah.
that people
Well,
used to use back in the old days.
oh, you mean like for a like a straight razor?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, okay. So that's different. Well, there's problems for like well, I guess there's like sports equipment is an issue, right? You could never borrow somebody's golf clubs or baseball mitt.
Yeah, yeah, but I mean, I think sports they tend to accommodate pretty well.
Hmm.
So yeah, you are right. I think that golf clubs. I don't think left-handed people can use other.
No, you're gonna have a hard time trying to borrow
Yeah,
somebody's. Yeah. Um,
yeah,
okay, so academically, you were set back in kindergarten because you had right-handed scissors handed to you, and you then were not able to cut straight because of
yeah,
that. That's a
yep,
tough one. Yeah. And
yeah.
then in school, the desks, there would be the wall of right-handed desks, and you would feel
I
alone.
feel marginalized.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So you check
Yep.
the get off of our left-handed bits. You okay? So you check the box for left-handed
Mhm.
when you apply,
Yep.
and because of that, it seems as if they farmed you into a special room.
Yeah, yeah. Except the tables were just, those regular like tables with no like, arm thingies.
No, it was just a table.
Yeah, and a chair. So it didn't really matter.
No, but then right. So in that room, lefties and righties were equal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First time in my life.
Perfect. Okay, so you're in a room with just.
Mhm.
Let's talk about the test day itself. So you arrive at Alliance University. Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
Alliance University.
yeah. I woke up about an hour and a half before the test. Got ready. I was borrowing my grandma's car, so I drove up there, paid $25 for parking, and
Holy shit! Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah. I got there pretty early, like 30 minutes beforehand, and everyone was just had their little packet of pencils and sharpeners and their IDs
You're
in their plastic baggie.
everybody has right the what is
Yeah,
it?
yeah. So
How big of a baggie is it that you're allowed?
it's a big plastic Ziploc bag.
Like a gallon
It's the biggest
Ziploc
size.
bag or like a quart
I
Ziploc
think
bag
so.
or
Yeah.
what?
I'm not really. I grew up in Japan, so I'm not familiar with the measurement system here. But I think it's the gallon one, or
Okay.
it's the biggest Ziploc bag they usually sell at stores.
Okay. Uh huh.
Yeah. So I mean, I could immediately spot the test takers because that's all they had on them.
Right. And they've got
Yeah.
their pencils and their
Hmm. Yeah.
highlighter. Did you bring a highlighter?
No, no, it's highlighter. It's not my thing.
No, me either. And did you bring an eraser, a special eraser?
No, no, well, the pencils have those erasers stuck on the other
Yeah.
end, so I just rely on those. Yeah.
Watch.
No, no, I just, I adopted the Nathan Fox method, so I don't use a watch.
No watch. Yeah, I like that. And a did you bring a snack? Did you bring a bottle of water?
Yeah, I didn't bring any liquid, but I brought a couple of power bars, and I think everyone should bring a couple of just small food and to keep you going after the halfway point because you do get kind of tired, and I think a little bit of food helps.
Okay. So a couple pencils. Let's be
Yep.
honest. How many did you bring?
I brought three.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, no, I'm being honest here. Yeah. But the guy sitting right next to me, another left-handed person, he brought the entire like I don't know what to call it, the package. I don't even think you were supposed to do that, but yeah,
Yeah.
he had like I don't know, maybe like 2 dozen. Yeah.
That's
So I mean, he
awesome.
was he was like going all out.
I mean, better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. All right, you. How did the check-in go? I mean, you got your admissions ticket in your hand, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was very lax. I didn't. It's not what I expected. I thought they were gonna like pat me down and stuff, but you know,
Hmm.
they didn't even check your pockets or anything. They just kind of like asked you to show them your ID and the admission sheet, and that was it. So I mean, I could have walked in there with a cell phone or you know some other stuff. I think if I wanted to.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have my own personal dilemma about the cell phone issue because it seems just so ridiculous that you can't bring your cell phone. What are you gonna do? You're gonna call your friend
Yeah.
in the middle. The proctors are looking at you. You can't get out your phone and be like sending text messages or anything. It's not like that's gonna. So I feel like you should be able to have your phone, in airplane mode or put it at the front of the room or something like that. It's stupid that you are not supposed to bring your phone. So in law school, we were not allowed to bring our phones into our exams, and Hastings might revoke my JD for admitting this.
Violating their code.
I violated their code, dude. I violated it because I would turn my phone off and just put it in my pocket and then take the
Yeah,
exam.
I think that's a totally legitimate thing to do. I think.
These days, I mean, they need to modernize that rule, right? That's just kind of
Hmm.
stupid because otherwise, people end up, if you don't have access to a car, then and people like take public
Yeah, you got to catch
transportation.
Uber, right?
You got to catch an Uber, you got to do
Yeah.
whatever, and oh no, but I'm not allowed to have my phone. It's a evil technology magic
Hmm.
piece. I can't have that with me. It's like not allowed at the testing center. That's just dumb. Everybody has a cell phone, man. That they got to come up with some sort of a system of cubbies or something at the front of the room.
Yeah, yeah. Plus, I think you would do worse if you try to cheat using your cell phone because I mean, let's face it, test is just 35 minutes, right? And I mean, that's a lot of time you're wasting, you know,
You'd have to
going
be
back and
doing
forth.
some ninja style, because what are you going to do? You're going to photograph the
Yeah,
test question, email it to
yeah.
your friend, text it to your friend, whatever. Then they're going to fire back the answer. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I guess now that I think of it, that actually could be
That's five
pretty
minutes right
awesome.
there.
I don't know. If someone shot me like a photo of the page
Hmm.
and then I just, a few minutes later send them back the answers, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think we can conceive of ways to make it work, but I think it's a lot easier if you just, if you just follow your method of studying and get the test down.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so yeah, just so Talk about it. The registration was
Yeah, just very lax. You just check in, show your ID, make sure you're on their make sure you're registered with on their list, and they gave me the room number, so I went there and just sat down and waited for I think it was 8 o'clock. Yeah, that's when the test started. Yeah, I was there. I can't remember what your advice was regarding how early you want to get there, but like I said, I was there about 30 minutes beforehand, so I had a lot of time to just kind of sit back and relax.
my standard advice on that is just to get there plenty early, but then maybe not go, maybe don't board the plane, like get to the gate
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
and then not necessarily. It sounds like you had a pretty empty flight anyway. You
Yeah,
get
yeah,
you get to the gate
yeah.
and then you just kind of eyeball it.
Hmm.
I'll make eye contact with the gate agent and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna chill out here where there's plenty of room. We're not leaving right now, right? Are we?" And then maybe go in at the last minute, because once you're in there, you're not allowed to have any reading material. You're not allowed to. I find it very amusing that you're not allowed to access your water, which you didn't bring, or your snack during the test. You can only do it at the break. So you can bring it into the room, but you're not allowed to access it during the test.
Yeah, I think I was instructed to just keep the essentials on the table. We had a
Okay.
lot of space on the table, so we put the food and drinks. I think it was below our seats,
Okay.
and I just had the pencil sharpener, pencil, and erasers, and my ID on the table.
Okay. You got your three pencils and your pencil sharpener. This
Hmm.
other dude has his 24 pencils
Yeah.
and his. Did he bring a. You might want to bring a backup pencil sharpener. You know?
Oh,
What if your
yeah.
first
I
pencil
think about
sharpener breaks down?
it. Yeah.
Did they start like on time or were they late or what
Yeah,
happened?
yeah. It was just the three of us, so we didn't have to wait around for anybody. We just started, and we actually I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, but we actually like finished first because I don't know if I should disclose this, but the writing section is at the end, right?
Yeah.
We all finished about 10 minutes early, earlier than our allotted time.
Okay.
Yeah, and the proctor saw that we were like kind of done, and we're just staring at the ceiling. So he just, okay, you guys done? If you're done, let's just finish this up, pack this up, and leave. So yeah, yeah, it was very quick, to be honest.
Okay. Nice. You did sections 1, 2, and 3 back to back to back, right?
Yeah, yeah.
35 minutes per section. The proctor gave you a 5-minute warning on every section.
Hmm. Yeah,
Didn't
he was on point.
he didn't fuck it up. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, yeah,
And then your break.
yeah. It was like I guess it was 15 minutes. Yeah, yeah. I just had my power bars and went to the restroom and came back and did the rest.
Were there any restrictions about where you could go during the break or what you could do during the break?
I don't think the proctor mentioned anything specific, but yeah, I mean, it was only like 15 minutes, so I don't think anyone like went outside of the side of the building.
Okay, but you could if you wanted to. If your car was outside and you wanted to
Yeah,
go.
I think I could have. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So 15-minute break, no big deal. You get up, stretch your legs, use the restroom,
Hmm.
eat some
Yep.
snack, whatever. Everybody's back, sitting back down, and then you go. So section 4 and section 5.
Yep.
All right. What was your experimental section?
I think it was logical reasoning.
Okay, so your test had 1 games, 1 reading comprehension, and 3 logical reasoning.
Hmm.
So you knew that logical reasoning, by the time when you got to the third logical reasoning section, I guess you knew that one of the 3 sections didn't count.
Actually, the third logical reasoning section was at the very end.
Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't I couldn't really tell until the very end.
Yeah, right. Because you had two LR1 games, one reading comprehension, and you're thinking, well, there's four sections. Those all totally could count. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
whatever
yeah.
section was the section five, it wouldn't have mattered. You would have been thinking, well, this potentially could be the experimental section,
Hmm.
which also was true of all four of the previous sections that you had taken.
Right, right.
Yeah. So you followed my advice. You didn't think about it.
No, I didn't try to. I didn't try to guess it.
Yeah, attaboy. All right. Okay. How did you feel about how the day went? I mean, you were feeling
Oh, it was a overall very positive experience.
okay.
I think if everybody felt the way I did about the test, I think LSAT would be doing a very good job. But yeah, no, I didn't feel any doubts about how I did or how I performed. I think I did the best I could on that day. You know, you always say just treat it like another data point, and that's exactly how I felt about it.
Yeah, I mean, that was prep test 80, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it is. It is now prep. The December 2016 test is prep test 80, and I use it in my classes all the time. So,
okay, yeah,
right? I mean, you sat for you had already done prep tests, 60 through 79 probably or something like that, like a whole big mountain of recent prep tests, and then
yeah, yeah.
that test that you took that day is now literally just prep test 80. So I don't know that there's any need to get all super dramatic, right? Super.
Yeah, it was just an extension of, what I had been doing on my own and through your classes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not doing this to toot my own horn. You had done plenty of prior prep. I mean, you did. How many tests do you think you did before you sat for the test?
I think I did, I know I did more than 15, but I don't think I did more than 20.
Okay. 15
Yeah.
to 20 tests that
Hmm.
you had, you'd done the whole thing and you'd reviewed pretty ruthlessly, intensely reviewed your mistakes and try to figure out why you're missing the ones you're missing. Do you remember what your score was? Like a first cold
Oh
LSAT?
yeah, the very first one, the practice test I ever took was I got a 156.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, I think I might have mentioned it in the very beginning, but well, when I first emailed you, but like I couldn't answer or I couldn't finish half of the logic game section
Right.
because I had spent too much time on the first two. I mean, I guess 156 is like an average score, right?
No, that's slightly above average. 153 or 154 is like the 50th percentile of people that sit for it. So
Oh,
starting
okay.
starting with a 156 means that you're sort of just naturally, above average kind of a candidate. And then your practice test scores, I mean, what were you looking at when you went into the test?
Yeah, so I began studying back in August, and I kept improving consistently, and a few tests I scored worse than I had prior to them, but a couple days before the test, I think I got a 169, and I can't remember if it was before or after the test, but I got a 171.
Okay.
I think it might have been after, yeah. So I knew that I was within that range, and yeah, yeah, I was very excited to see my score.
Which was, we haven't said that yet.
Oh yeah, I got a 170.
What percentile was that 170? Do you know?
On the thing that you said 97th percentile.
97th percentile, 170.
Does that
And
vary a lot from test to test?
it varies a little bit. Yeah, no, it does vary a little bit. One of my former students, this guy Mike, made
Mm.
a like a data visualization, he called it, and we posted it on my website. I can send you the link to it, but he used like the old data from the percentiles, and he broke it down where you could figure out what score was what percentile, and it changes by year, but it doesn't really change. It does not
Yeah.
change very much. I mean, you've 170 is pretty clearly an elite score. Do you have good grades?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah. So I
So
mean, I almost have to get this elite score.
you can't fake that LSAT score. It's just, there's no way to bargain or negotiate yourself to that LSAT score. So that is, that's going to cover up for a lot of sins during your undergraduate career.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Where are you applying? What's your plan for law school? I know you're applying now, but what types of schools are you looking at?
I want to go to schools in California, and my top choices are like in the Bay Area.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm only applying to one school out of state.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's UH, University of Hawaii.
Yeah. Okay. Because you have roots in Hawaii, right?
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
you've spent time there or something.
yeah, I spent 8 years of my childhood there.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Do you still have family there or no?
yeah, just my mother is still living there.
What island?
Oahu.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. But the other schools are mostly in Bay Area, and I am applying to one school in San Diego.
Okay.
It's also where I spent a lot of time, and I think I'm applying to a couple schools in LA too.
Okay.
I'm not sure that I would ever want to go back there, but
Yeah.
uh,
All right. I mean, if you ever want this LA sales pitch, I'd be happy to try to give it to you. But we can have a beer sometime and we can talk about it.
yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Anything else? Any tips do you think that maybe the listeners should hear about test day or about the whole prep process?
Yeah, I think just follow Nathan and Ben's advice about studying. I mean, I'm only one person, but it served me very well. I don't think I could have gotten that score if I hadn't taken Nathan's class and listened to your guys' podcast.
Yeah, well, I mean, you probably would have had a higher score if you would have taken Ben's class instead, but unfortunately for you, you're in San Francisco and you had to deal with me. I mean, Ken, you were a standout student. You sat in the front row, which doesn't mean everything, but it doesn't mean nothing either. I have noticed a trend of people who do the best sitting in the front row. Correlation is not causation, but
Yeah.
I tend to have a hypothesis about the people who sit in the front. And you also, you were obviously very diligent. You asked great questions. It was clear that you had done all the homework. This is on you, dude. This is not on me. Your success is you were going to be successful no matter where you did it. So no, it was my pleasure to have you in class, and I'm really happy that you were so successful on the test. I mean, do you think you could have done better than a 170?
Well, first of all, yeah, thanks for all those kind words. And no, I just want to say that like your class is very entertaining.
Yeah.
Like the way you explain questions and the way you interact with students.
If you like
I think,
swear words, then I guess it's super entertaining.
yeah. Well, I mean, let's just say we like free speech, right?
Yeah, we do, yeah.
But yeah. Well, going back to the score, yeah, a couple. I think I emailed you too, but a couple weeks after the test, I kept studying and I got a 175 on a practice test.
Oh man, yeah. Uh huh.
So, I mean, that makes me think that, if I keep studying and take another test, then I might be able to do better.
I believe you. I mean, I don't doubt that at all. You know, it's very rare that I would tell somebody to retake it after a 170 because my standard line is like, hey man, 170 anything is 170 anything.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I mean, do you have a you're applying in the middle of the cycle, right? You're not applying early in the cycle. You're applying in the middle of the cycle.
No, no. Yeah, this would be the middle, I think.
Yeah, no, well, I mean, like you said, half of your schools are not even accepting the February LSAT, so you're kind of applying at the end of the cycle for those schools, and so I don't know. I mean, I guess, do you have any? Is it like in the back of your head to?
Well, I had originally scheduled to, well, I'm still scheduled to take this test this coming up this weekend.
Oh, wait, are you actually registered for the February LSAT?
Yeah, I registered
Oh shit!
I think a couple weeks before the December test.
Whoa. Okay. All
Yeah.
right. I didn't realize this. This is awesome. All right.
Yeah.
What are you gonna
No, no,
do?
but well, I think I'm gonna withdraw because I haven't had much time to
Oh
focus
yeah.
on the studying part. So, I don't feel that the preparation is there.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I could probably still get a 165 or something, but there's no point, right?
Well, I mean, I'm always gonna make the counter argument,
Yeah.
but I also believe in you, and so you did. You have scored a 175 on a real test. You've also scored a
Hmm.
170 on a real test, like the real on the real day. You're gonna go
Yeah.
into it like you're not gonna be nervous.
I feel a little more pressure than the last time because, there's an expectation
Yeah.
now.
I suppose you could
So,
always cancel. I mean, if you take it and you don't hit a home run on the games,
mhm.
you could just cancel,
Oh, right, right. Yeah.
right? Because that cancel's not hurting you at all. You're going to cancel and you just have, I guess I'll just stick with my 170. And but if
Right.
you like, so say you take it and you ace the games,
Hmm.
and then you might be like, well, I know I aced the games, so maybe we just see what happens. See what the score is, because it's not going to be like, even if it comes back, like let's say you ace the games, but then you had a couple hiccups on the other sections.
Hmm.
One, I think you would have a pretty good assessment of whether that happened or not. So you could always just cancel if you had any doubt. You could just cancel. But if you go do it and you work diligently for 35 minutes on all of the sections, and if you know you ace the games, which you would be
Yeah.
capable of knowing, right? You would know whether
Hmm.
you got perfect on the games or not. But if you did get perfect on the games, then maybe you could just say, all right, let's just see what this score is. And, if it comes out at a 174, even if it comes out at a 173 or 174, that's like it's not nothing.
Oh, yeah. No, I'll be satisfied with 171 or two,
Yeah.
even.
I would never tell you to take it again. If you weren't registered already, I would be like, nah,
Mhm.
come on, you don't need
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah.
But since you already paid the $180, I mean, you got plans Saturday?
No, no.
All right. Well, we can talk about it, but I wouldn't tell you not to do it. I feel like, because I feel like you have only upside and like no downside.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's still, I haven't taken it off the table. Yeah, I'm still kind of preparing for it mentally. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just that little more pressure I have, and the preparation
Yeah, I
not
get
really
it.
being,
I get it.
yeah.
I can't make the decision for you either way. I mean, I do
Mhm.
kind of want to know what happens if you take it again, but you withdraw and you just decide to rest on your 170. That's a perfectly reasonable decision to make, and I think that is totally
Yeah.
fine. But I also think you keep saying, I had the preparation isn't there, but do you really think you need to be prepping? I mean, you understand the test. You get it, and I feel like there's not
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
much. Are you really going to you really going to forget how to answer a logical reasoning question? I just don't think you are. So really, you're coming off a 170 on the December test. You do no prep, but you've done a couple tests actually because you didn't have your score, right? So you were still prepping for February as if you were going
Oh
to have
yeah,
to
yeah.
take
No, no, I'm
February.
still doing like 35-minute sections here and there, and going through your uh encyclopedia and
Oh, even
playbook
now
reading.
you are. Even now you are. Or you have been like this week?
I think I last I opened a book was like last Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm doing less than 50% of what I had been doing before the December test.
Yeah, but that's what I would have advised you to do anyway. I mean, because I'm serious, because you were prepped, like you were ready for the December test. Clearly, you were
Uh-huh.
ready for the December test as demonstrated by the 170 that you achieved on the December test. You were ready for the test in December. My
Right.
hypothesis is you're not going to get really significantly less prepared even if you do nothing. And you haven't
Hmm.
done nothing. You've actually done things in between the December test. And even after your score came out, you still did some things. And you've
Yeah.
paid for the test. And, you know, yeah, now I want you to take it.
Well, I like your idea about canceling the test if I don't feel right about it.
Yeah, I would never ever tell anybody to cancel unless, super dire like emergency sort of situation. But I've never even
Yeah, yeah,
thought about it in this context where you've got a great score already on record and you were previously registered because you weren't sure whether you were going to have the score. So you registered in advance and then you kept up doing some prep for a while. And then now the February test rolls around and it's a bit, it's just like a free roll.
right,
It's
right.
a free shot. I mean, do you want, because you don't even have to do any work. I mean, you don't have to study this week. You just go. It's the only cost is your Saturday. And that's it.
Yep. Yeah, no, wow. I think, yeah, I think I might just do it.
Dude, I would. Is it the same place?
No, no, well, I actually registered not late, but same place was full.
Okay.
So, I chose this place in Oakland, but then they rescheduled my location for, causes beyond their control is what they said. But so I'm taking the test center is actually USF.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, that's the same difference. There's actually
Yep.
easier parking probably up there because it's up on the hill. So I think you can find neighborhood parking up there that won't cost you $45 probably.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I actually think there's probably free parking up there if you know where to look. But otherwise, I don't know, park in a garage, whatever. But
Yeah.
to me, that seems like I just don't see a lot of downside because, unless it goes perfectly, you can always just cancel and then whatever. You've got a 170 and then a subsequent cancel. I can't imagine that they're going to be like, oh no, look at this dude. He canceled his
Yeah.
score after, if they
Yeah.
ever asked you to explain it, you'd be like, oh yeah, I had previously registered because I wasn't sure what the score would be in December. And then I had a practice test where I had scored super high, 175. I don't know if you guys are interested in that at all, but yeah, anyway, then I took the test and it didn't feel like it was going better, so I just thought the sensible move would be to cancel it. I don't know. All
Hmm.
you do there is sound like a very savvy applicant anyway, That doesn't
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to imagine in what universe someone would be like, "Oh yeah, okay, we definitely don't want to admit you because of that."
Oh, what is this? What is this cancel score?
Yeah, oh boy, wow, that, yeah, we're gonna disregard that 170 that he has on record because of this cancel that happened. All right. Well, anyway, Ken, thank you very much for coming on the show. Is there anything you want to pitch or anything you're working on you want to talk about?
No, I think I better get back to my applications.
How hard is it to apply to multiple schools?
I think the key is just getting down the big documents, the personal statement, diversity, if you're writing one, and your resume, and yeah, just that the wordy part of the application. I think rest is just personal information and like these small details. So
Cool.
that's pretty much the same for every school, you know.
Yeah, and you're trying to get those out as soon as
Yeah,
possible.
yeah. I mean, deadlines. I mean, it's literally in 2 days.
Yeah. Okay. So before
Or-
the February LSAT is even administered, you know,
Right.
another reason to take it is to give yourself you're going to apply now, right? You're going to apply with the
hmm
170 you already have, but in what, end of February, beginning of March, those February scores come out, and then you do get then an additional data point about your potential worth as an applicant. Not to mention,
hmm
you could actually you could say to the schools, hey, you might want to look at this 175 that I just got on that
Yeah.
February LSAT. But if not, even if they've already given you a decision or they've already made a scholarship offer or whatever, you could then also just sort of have that in your pocket as like, well, if I apply next year with this 175 that I have, things are probably going to be different.
Yeah, yeah. That was my initial plan for the February test. Just you know, in case things don't, in case the offers aren't great this year,
Yeah.
use the February score for next year.
Awesome. Ken, thanks for coming on the show. And I hope we'll be able to give an update sometime soon. We'll definitely, the listeners are going to want to know whether you sat for that test or not. So
Yeah.
I'll at least find out from you and report back to the listeners. But if you do decide to take it again, maybe we'll have you back on for another quick interview, because that does sound very interesting.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity to share. And yeah, it's great to talk to you again.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.